Uh-oh. Okay. Yeah, we're done. Do, 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 do. Oh, hello. I know it's kind of late, but I want to do a little reading. So for today we're gonna do. I got this book here. It's from the 1950s. So who knows what wacky stuff's gonna be in here. So we're just gonna, we're gonna give it a little read. Marco Polo. The Mediterranean Sea was a great highway. Yes, we're gonna learn about Marco Polo right now. And so we can see that in the picture there, it shows the known what was the world that was known 700 years ago, according to the 1950s. Obviously, it was just Europe and Marco Polo only in this area. So we're gonna learn about the discovery of the rediscovery, or just any sort of discovery by Marco Polo. Look at the map on page 4. Okay, we don't have that one, but we can look at this map. It shows the world as we know it 700 years ago. You will notice that it is centered about the Mediterranean Sea. Well, not really, but it's close enough. Which washes the shores of Europe, Africa, and Asia. Around the Mediterranean Sea lived many peoples. To them, the middle of the earth was the land along the shores of this great blue sea. It was a calm sea, where all year round the weather was warm, and a voyage on it was usually a pleasant one. The Mediterranean then was a natural highway over which men and goods moved from country to country. Merchants. Let me scoot in there. Merchants from ports in Europe sailed aboard boats known as galleys to Constantinople and Acre. Acre, I don't know what that is. Ports of eastern the Mediterranean. So now we know that this is kind of like the whole area there, the only Mediterranean Sea. Just like a little part in the middle between Africa and Europe was basically their whole life there. The galleys carried cargoes of fine glass, olives, raisins, wines, and oils, and the traders returned with their ships, holds crowded with spices, silks, rugs, and jewels. Some ventured westward through the Mediterranean Sea to the Sea of Darkness, which we now call the Atlantic Ocean. Ooh, spooky. I don't want to go to the Sea of Darkness. That sounds like a real scary place. Atlantic Ocean and journeyed northward as far as Britannia and to the Baltic Sea. From these countries, they brought back shiploads of tin, resin, furs, and fish. All my favorite things. I love resin and fish. I just slather myself in resin. In those days, one of the greatest trading centers and seaports in the Mediterranean was the city-state of Venice. Ooh, this is beautiful. Little boats everywhere. If you look at the map on page 14, okay, let's I guess we'll go to page 14 now. Really consider that. So I'm gonna go to page 14, look, see what it is. Ah, there it is, there's the map. So we'll go 1, 2, yeah, right here. So this is the map we're looking at right now. If you look on on page 14, you will see why this was so. Oh, okay, so they go where's Venice here? Yeah, so Venice is at the very top, and they would go all the way down through Constantinople, to Baghdad, the Gulf of Persia, Ceylon. Ooh, I like the Ceylon tea, and Sumatra, and then all the way up to Peking. I wonder if that's where Peking duck's from. You'll see Venice lay on the sheltered arm of the Mediterranean. Weather in Venice was never cold. Ooh, that's nice. The waters in the harbor were hardly ever rough. Venetian seamen were known Venetian seamen were known to be the finest in any Mediterranean seaport. Venetians were very proud of their city. It was built on more than 100 islands, which were joined by hundreds of bridges. Houses, churches, and warehouses were built on piles and raising out of the water, formed the banks of waterways or canals. On these canals, long, graceful boats called gondolas carried Venetians from one part of their city to another, just as motor cars and taxis carry us along city streets today. Wow. Technology is amazing. The widest and busiest water highway in Venice was, and still is, known as the Grand Canal. The Grand Canal. Alongside the wharves, fine galleys manned by sturdy Venetian sailors unloaded rich cargoes. Venetian merchants hired these galleys to trade in all the seaports of the Mediterranean. Each galley was manned by 200 oarsmen. 40 skilled archers were ready at all times to defend it against sea pirates. Wow, that's a lot of archers. I don't think they survived that with all those shots coming down. Oh, hello. Okay, I'll continue. Hope you're enjoying. We're learning about Venice right now. Where was I? Defend. Yeah, against sea pirates. There are 40. Yeah. Okay, so 40 skilled archers were ready at all times to defend against sea pirates. In Constantinople and Acre, in the eastern Mediterranean, the traders saw the great caravans of camels from the east. They watched Arabs unload from camels' backs bales of soft silks, sweet-smelling spices, and sparkling jewels. Ooh. Although they had to pay very high prices for this merchandise, the Venetians readily purchased the rare goods. They knew that in Venice there would be plenty of buyers eagerly waiting their return. In time, the merchants of Venice became very powerful, and their city-state grew to be the most important and one of the most important in all of the Mediterranean. Wow, what a beautiful place Venice is. If you get the chance, I would recommend going. I hear it's sinking, so if you're able to you should get on that as soon as possible. There's a picture here. I think it's of right here. It's of them in the canals, the beautiful canals of Venice. So if you get a chance, I'd recommend. Two of the most important merchants in Venice at the time were the brothers Niccolo and Maffeo Polo. They had fine homes and large warehouses. Many times a year, they left Venice and sailed to Constantinople to trade. When they had exchanged the glass, oils, and wheat which they brought from Venice for rich carpets, spices, and silks, they returned home. So they go all the way down to, let's go back to the map here. So they would go all the way down to Constantinople, which is right here, and they would sail all the way back. So Constantinople is just below Venice. I think it's in Turkey, I believe, and it goes all the way up to that little island in the Shoe. We pass the Shoe of Italy, up into Venice. It's a little leg pit of Venice. It's a good old leg pit of Venice. So once they from one of these journeys, they did not return. Poor Polos. Their friends and relatives began to wonder what had happened to them. Perhaps they had been murdered by robbers or had lost their lives at sea. Ooh. Niccolo, the elder brother, had left behind him a wife and a little son, Marco, the titular Marco Polo, the one we all love. As soon as the years passed by, and the boy grew a little older, he often asked his mother about his father and his uncle. The poor woman sighed, and telling the stories of their departure, said she feared that they were dead. Marco was sure that they were alive. Day after day, he would go down to the wharves and spend hours watching ships as they came and went. Often, he would question the seamen, hoping someday to hear news of his father and uncle. Oh, what a tenacious little guy! Let's learn if he finds his good old uncles and father and uncle. It's never good to lose a father at such a young age. Let's see if he finds him. One morning, when Marco was in his teens, two foreign-looking men in tattered, travel-worn clothes stepped from a ship newly arrived at Venice and inquired for the Polo family. The men were Niccolo and Mafio. Oh, that's Niccolo Mafio Polo. Niccolo's wife was dead, but when he met his son, a fine, well-grown lad, his heart was cheered. Oh, that's there's a little, everything, a little bittersweet, but it's okay because they came back. Marco Polo listened eagerly to the tales both men told of their long journey. He heard of their voyage to Constantinople and how they had traveled across the Black Sea to Trebizond. Oh, I wonder what Trebizond is. Let's take a little break and we'll search up what Trebizond is. Let's see. No, it's Trebizond. The Empire of Trebizond. Interesting. Was one of the 3 successor rump states of the Byzantine Empire. So it's in the 13th century to the 15th century, and it was it was in the corner of Anatolia. Oh wow! You learn something new every day. What a beautiful thing. It's always good to learn. I hope whoever's listening is having a good time learning too. Trebizond, an important trading center. Journeying south, they reached a city where they spent 12 months. When they were ready to return home, they found that the overland route by which they had come was cut off by a tribe of savage men. Who knows what savage men mean? It could be mean anything. Back in the 1950s, they didn't really discriminate when it came to who they called savages. They were forced to travel by another way. In time, they came to the great trading city of Bokhara. If I remember correctly, Bokhara is in... actually, I don't remember correctly because I don't know where it is. I'll search that where that is too. Take a little break and Bokhara. Bokhara Wildlife Reserve. That's Uganda. I don't think they were in Uganda. Bokhara. Let's try that again. Bokhara. Doesn't look like we could find that out so fast, so we'll save that for another time. We'll find out where that is sometime later. Okay, there they stayed for. They were. Okay. I'm missing it. I lost my spot. There they stayed for 3 years. By chance, they fell in with a great nobleman who persuaded them to travel with him to the land of Cathay, which we now call China. Okay. There to see for themselves the mighty Emperor Kublai Khan, who he assured them was greatly interested in seeing travelers from distant lands and would treat them well. It was another year before they arrived in Peking, the capital of Cathay. I'm pretty sure, and if we look over here, Peking is all the way at the end of that line, next to the Gobi Desert and modern-day China. Kublai Khan received them courteously and treated them like princes. He questioned them about the city of Venice, for he knew much about Western lands. When they had stayed for a time in Peking, the emperor requested them to return home with letters to the head of the Christian church. They were also to get for him 100 missionaries and some holy oil from the lamp in Christ's tomb in Jerusalem. Ooh, that's quite the treasure. A golden tablet or passport was given to them. This passport asked all rulers and chiefs in the Khan's kingdom to treat Niccolo and Mafio Polo well, and required them to give the travelers safe conduct through their lands. Oh, hey, Cosmos. I'm reading about Marco Polo right now. So if you have any questions while I'm reading, just don't be afraid to put them in the chat, and we'll take a little look-see. We're all learning here, so like it's good to ask questions, even if you feel like they're not the best questions. It's always good to ask, because the worst thing is not learning, right? It's all about making those neuron connections and those spicy little dendrites. Now where was I? Okay, so they gave the passport to Polo and traveled to safe conduct through their lands. In this way, the journey home was made much easier. These stirring stories thrilled young Marco Polo, and he begged to be allowed to accompany his father and uncle when they returned to Cathay, which is China. It's called Cathay, China. So if you see on the line there, Cosmos, they went from Venice all the way to the left, and took that route all the way down and back up to Peking, which is China and Cathay. 2 years passed before they could start. The Polos were trying to find missionaries to go with them, but in this they had great difficulties. Few men wanted to face the dangers of such a long journey. In the end, only 2 missionaries were persuaded to accompany them. The travelers set out by ship for Venice. It was 25 years before they were to see their city again. Wow, 25 years. That's quite a long time. Poor Marco Polo. Let's hope he was able to travel with his good old father and uncle again. We follow the journey of the Polos on the map on page 14. Yeah, so this is what we're looking at. If you look on the screen, there's the map that the Polos took. So they went from Venice, Constantinople, Baghdad. They went to the Persian Gulf. I can't really see what that name is, but it's somewhere in the Middle East. They went to India, Ceylon, which is, I don't know if it's a state of India right now. Sumatra, which beautiful teas, and it's where gibbons live in Sumatra and Borneo. Orangutans and gibbons live in this little area. Then they went all the way up, all the way up into China, and they made their way. Oh, so no, not China's. Oh yeah, this particular photo is from a book from the 1950s. My grandmother, she used to be a teacher, so she used to teach kids, and she was getting rid of all these books, and she knows I like adventures and pirates and all those sort of stories. So she gave me this teacher's manual from the 1950s. So we're also going to get some very interesting wordings and languages for certain peoples. So prepare for that as well. We're gonna do doubly learning. Yeah. So that's Marco. That's not Marco's. That's what were the names again? I missed it. That was not Marco Polo, but his father and uncle. Yeah, his father and uncle's journey. They sailed from Venice to Acre, or Acre. I don't really know how to pronounce that. Then traveled overland to Jerusalem. That's where they're trying to get holy oil for Kublai Khan, the Great Khan. Where they obtained the holy oil. Yeah, the holy oil. To Marco, it felt strange to be so far from home and to be traveling on the back of a swaying camel. When they reached their city of Baghdad, the 2 missionaries refused to go any further and returned home. Here, the Polos boarded an Arab boat called a Dhow, D-H-O-W. I've never heard of that before. Oh, and there's a picture of the Dhow. Let's take a little look. Oh, it's quite a pretty boat. Yeah, 2 missionaries refused to go. They boarded an Arab boat called the Dhow and sailed down the Great Tigris River. It is a great river, the Tigris. Dhow proved to be uncomfortable, crowded, and a foul-smelling. Oh no, it's too bad. It was not nearly as seaworthy as the ships of the Mediterranean. After a hot, tiresome journey, the Dhow docked at the busy seaport of Ormuz on the Persian Gulf. Oh, that's what it was. It was the city of Ormuz. Here Marco eagerly sought out the shops, where merchants showed their goods. Oh yeah, I changed the leaves. So I was doing it in Vroid because I thought, I'll just keep everything in Vroid, but the texturing ability in Vroid is not so great. So I did a quick little dirty job with the leaves. Hopefully they look nice. I used a mixture of the 2 color palettes. Thank you. I'm glad you liked them. You helped. You're the one who helped make them, so you should be proud too. You helped me with the colors. So they docked at the busy seaport of Ormuz on the Persian Gulf. Here Marco eagerly sought out the shops where merchants showed their goods. In these bazaars, he saw great white pearls, rich cloth of gold, and brightly colored rugs. Each day, traders were forced to close their stalls for several hours in the late morning because of the terrible heat. Marco Polo was told that in summer, in this part of the land, not even a blade of grass remained growing because of the scorching rays of the sun. Farmers outside the city planted their wheat in November and reaped it in March. So that's it. I'm not really sure. I don't know too much about farming, but I'm guessing that's not the standard in Italy. Where they I wonder when they plant their stuff in March. Let's take a little look. Let's take a little. Oh, before the summer heat burned up their. I didn't flip the page. Before the summer heat burned up their crops. So it must have been, yeah, it must be pretty hot there, down in the Middle East. In the East, when merchants travel through the deserts, or through countries where there is danger from robbers, they do so in groups for greater safety. Such a group is called the caravan. Ah, the caravan. The lovely caravan. Soon we'll all take a caravan to the Oregon Trail. That'll be fun. That'll be a fun game. We could play Oregon Trail. Early one morning, a caravan of 50 camels made its way through the narrow streets of Ormuz and on to the northeast. With the caravan traveled Marco, Mafio, and Niccolo Polo. Marco knew they were traveling to the desert lands of Persia. This was a country of sandy wastes. Okay, with here and there an oasis where the caravan rested. Marco noticed that at each oasis there was a spring of water. Around this spring grew tall date palm trees, fig trees, vegetables, and grass. Sheep and goats grazed at the outer edge of the oasis. So let's go to the next picture. We can see travelers taking their in their caravan. They're taking their camels across to the oasis there. You can see look in the top left. There's that shows a little bit of their tents. People don't really in the Middle East, they don't really use those tents anymore. But I'm pretty sure the Bedouins and there's different tribes in the Middle East that still they're still nomadic, and some of them still have these wonderful tents. And if you're lucky enough to be in the Middle East when there's less strife and stuff, it'd be good to go to a Bedouin tent. They're quite beautiful. I would recommend that if you have the chance. The travelers camped on the sand near the oasis, for every bit of the moist ground had to be used for the growing of plants and trees. Also, they weren't even allowed in the cool parts. They had to stay in the sandy desert. At night, they slept in tents of cloth made from the hair of goats and camels. Ooh. So what's nice about camel hair and goat hair is when you felt them, there's very good air pockets. Like they have like nice insulating properties. So it's like the insulation in your home. Like you could use like animal fur to like insulate that, and it'll work just as well. But the issue is it won't work just as well. But the issue is it's very hard to collect enough hair to make that. So these tents were probably quite luxurious items. You have to be quite wealthy to afford these tents. Marco now, from the hair of goats and camels, Marco now looked much like the Arab boys in the caravan. He wore a loose, flowing cotton robe and a headdress by day. At night, he wore a woolen turban on his head. So he's got the whole dress going. He's got the keffiyeh, he's got the turban, he's got everything. After a hard journey, they reached the trading center of Balkh. Some of the merchants in their caravan remained there to trade and then to return home. In Balkh, the streets were very narrow, and awnings were stretched across from one side of the street to the other to provide shade from the burning sun. Like a classic bazaar. In the bazaars of Balkh, merchants from Jerusalem, Ormuz, Acre, and Constantinople rubbed elbows with the Chinese, Indians, and Arabs. When the Polos left Balkh, it's interesting that Jerusalem, Ormuz, and Acre aren't considered Arab in this book. So I think now they would be considered Arabs. It's an interesting change from the past to now. When the Polos left Balkh, traveling eastward, The route lay through the mountains. Marco noticed that the many guards on horseback now accompanied their caravan. He was told that bandits lurked behind the rocks in the mountain passes, ready to attack small groups of poorly protected travelers. They climbed slowly upward into the Pamir Mountains. Swift streams rushed headlong beside the narrow trail. Marco learned that in the spring, these streams were... Oh, there's another picture here, the camel. Through the Pamir Mountains. Oh, see, look, that's where they're going through. Marco learned that in the spring, these streams were... And we flip the page. Swollen to overflowing by melting mountain snow. Then travel along the route was impossible. So they only had a short period of time before they could get through there. It was it'd be pretty quick. For some time, Marco had been feeling sick and feverish. He had not told his father of this, for he knew that his sickness would mean delay. When they reached Kashgar, however, Marco was no longer able to hide the fact that he was very ill with a fever. For months, the sick lad was forced to lie in bed. Fortunately, this was during the winter time, and his father told him that, in any event, they would have been delayed, for snow filled the mountain passes and made travel dangerous. Yeah, you can imagine from the drawing there that very treacherous if snow came down. Here in Canada, we have sometimes in the mountains we get avalanches, and if you get caught in the avalanche, it's almost certain death. So lots of people wear like these airbags, where they have snorkels and they bring shovels if they're going up there when they're mountaineering in the deep snow of the mountains. Because avalanches are no joke. You shouldn't mess with them, no matter where you are. I'm pretty sure in that area of the world, in Persia, they have very dangerous mountains. Like in Uzbek, I don't know if Uzbekistan has a. I'd have to check out a look at the map. We'll have to look at the mountain ranges. Fortunately, this was during the winter. During the winter time, and the snow would have delayed them. The mountain passes made travel dangerous. The clear, cold mountain air brought back color to the cheeks of the sick boy, and after a time, he was well enough to go about the sea and see the city for himself. Everything here was strange to him. All these things he recorded to tell his friends. All these things he recorded to tell his friends when he came home. When Marco was fully recovered, the Polos set out on horseback with a company of traders to go through the Pamir Mountains. You'll find the Pamir Mountains on the map on page 14. Okay, let's go back to our little page 14 map. And if we look closely, so here's the route. The dotted line is the route that they're taking right now. So they went to Ormuz, to Balkh, and they're right now in the Kashgar Pamir Mountains, which is right in the middle there. So just to the right of Bukhara and Samarkand. Oh yeah, Samarkand is Uzbekistan. Yeah. So just east of Samarkand is where the mountains are, and it's quite a beautiful place, Uzbekistan. They have like a deep culture of horseback riding, and you'll see they have lots of mixed traditions. Like you can tell, like they have lots of influence from like Mongolia and China and Persia. Like this, very interesting. So if you find yourself in that part of the world, I would try to mingle with the locals and learn about the horseback riding of Uzbekistan. These were so high that they were called the roof of the world. Ooh, like Skyrim. Or maybe it's the third of the world. I don't remember. The travelers discovered that high up in these mountains, water took longer to boil than in Venice. Fires did not throw out any great heat. Animals or birds were nowhere to be seen. Oh yeah, because of the oxygen deprivation. To the east lay a land of high plateaus, where there were great plains. Here the traveler saw a strange sight. Sheep with horns, 3 feet in length. Ooh, the big old great horns. I don't know what type of sheep those would be. Those would be Kashmiri sheep. That's more west. At the city of Lop. Where's Lop? Oh, he's right in the middle there, where the camel is. The little camel. If you look on the map, you'll see the little camel. And be like, oh, there's Lop. The Polos rested and prepared for the greatest hardship of the whole journey. From here, they had to cross the vast Gobi Desert. Ooh, yeah, that's a pretty harsh place. It's also where you find a lot of dinosaurs. So if you find yourself in the Gobi Desert, you should do some archaeology. That's Mongolia, I'm pretty sure. In shape, this desert is like a huge saucer with plains in the center and hills and mountains around the rim. Summers in the desert are very hot, and there's no rainfall at all. In this desert, there are neither trees nor plants of any kind. There are plants. This book's kind of wrong. There are some plants in the Gobi, but it's not like in the desert. It's like they're desert plants. So let's not lie here, Mr. Book, Mr. 1950s book. Even today, travelers are warned when crossing into it. Go with a caravan in charge of a trustworthy guide. Again, this is the 1950s, so it was very there weren't many. It was very sparse, and a lot of people lived near the Gobi Desert. Where were they? Were provided stories and told them. Trustworthy guide. They are warned to provide food for themselves for a month. Ooh, that's a long journey. Stories are told of men who lost their way and in danger of starving were forced to kill their donkeys, horses, and camels for food. In Marco Polo's day, it was said that people in these desolate regions heard horrible voices and saw evil spirits, which lured them away from the caravan to their deaths. Travelers on the desert were warned to keep close together. Bells were hung on the camels' necks so they could be found should they stray away from the others. Well-to-do, warlike people known as Tartars. Oh, there's a picture though. That's the Great Wall. That's the Venice. Here we are, among the Tartars. Their homes known as yurts were round tents of felt wood from wool. Tartar warriors rode magnificent horses. Yeah, so these are horseback riders from in Mongolia, the Tartars. I'm not sure what they're called now. I'm sure there's a different term for them. Roamed over the desert of well-to-do, warlike people known as Tartars roamed over the desert of mountains and plains. In summer, they were rich. Long robes of cotton, silk, or cloth of gold. In winter, their clothes were lined with the fur of sable, sable, ermine, or fox. Let's search up ermine. I want to know what ermine is. Ermine. Oh, it's a stoat. It's a cute little stoat. I like stoats. They're funny little guys. I would like a stoat as a pet, but they're pretty crazy. So let's get back to it. Yep. So they got their stoats. They got their fox. The Tartar women did all the heavy work. Ooh, gender reversal. As well as buying and selling, while the men hunted animals or warred with neighboring tribesmen. I guess mixed. In battle, Tartar men wore armor made of the hardened hides of buffaloes. I'm sure it's a different kind of buffalo than the ones in America here. Their weapons were bows and arrows, which they used most skillfully. Yeah, they're quite. Most horseback cultures have excellent archery. Long bows. No, so they had recurves, I think. Yeah, they had recurves there. They would make if I remember correctly, Mongolian and Chinese bows. They would use I think it was water buffalo or some sort of oxen horn, and then they would use that as the spring, and they use sinew and tendon as to strengthen it. So they're very beautiful bows. If you're able to see them in a museum, they're quite beautiful. Their weapons were bows and arrows, which they used most skillfully. When at war, the men stayed on horseback for hours at a time, living on dried mare's milk, which they carried with them in leather sacks. So that's like that yak chew that you give to dogs. It's interesting. Their homes, known as yurts, were round tents of felt made from sheep's wool. The framework was the wicker wands. Smoke from the fire escaped through the collar at the top of the yurt. When a family of Tartars wished to move from one place to another, seeking better grass for their sheep, horses, and goats, they could take down the yurts in less than half an hour. Hey, it's pretty good. It takes me at least half an hour to get out of bed. That's better than me. For over 30 days, the Polos journeyed eastward across the Gobi Desert, traveling between the few wells of water that were to be found. When they arrived in the land of Cathay, they were met by messengers of the Great Khan. And I think we have a picture of Cathay here. No, that's the Khans. That's Cathay. Did they miss a picture? Oh yeah, I did. Let's go back. This is Marco Polo at the court of the King of King. Oh, this is out of order. Well, that's too bad. Let's we'll go back to that one. And that's the farmers of Cathay. We'll look at the farmers for now. For over 30 days, the Polos journeyed eastward across the Gobi Desert, traveling between the few wells of water that were to be found. When they arrived in the land of Cathay, they were met by messengers of the Great Khan. Following the line of the Great Wall of China. Ooh, I think we have a picture of that too. The Great Wall of China. Yeah, there it is. The Great Wall of China. Following the line of the Great Wall of China, and reached they reached and crossed a humpbacked bridge of pure marble, which has ever since been known as the Bridge of Marco Polo, which is this picture. This is the Bridge of Marco Polo. Interesting. In May 1275, the Polos reached the city of Peking, which was, let's look at our map, which is all the way over here. So they crossed the Gobi Desert, and they entered Peking, the capital city. The Polos were brought to the emperor, which is this picture. Brought before the emperor, who was seated on a splendid throne, glittering with gold and diamonds. He bade them welcome and thanked them for their holy oil. After hearing the story of their journey, he asked who the handsome young lad was with them. Niccolo replied, "This is your servant and my son." He is welcome," said the Khan, "because he pleases me much. I shall give him a place among my officers." A great feast was given in their honor, and the Polos were invited to live at the palace. Marco Polo soon learned the customs of Cathay. Clever was he in learning that in a short time he could speak and write the 4 languages used in Cathay. As he grew older, the Khan, who had a great liking for this intelligent young man, entrusted him with the difficult tasks and sent him on missions to distant parts of the kingdom. So here we could see he's checking out the farmers. Look at all the rice farmers. Water buffalo. Yeah, I think these water buffalo. Here, the fishing villages in Cathay, China, modern day China, and silkworms, and tea harvesting, which is interesting because I think they use the same baskets for tea harvesting. Like they steam the leaves when making tea. Marco Polo observed everything and put down in his notes accounts of strange and amusing things, which he thought might interest the emperor. So greatly did he please Kublai Khan that the honors and riches were heaped on him. He was even made a governor of an important province for a 3-year period. Ooh. The people among whom Marco Polo traveled and lived with were the Chinese. Okay, here we are. Here's the 1950s. You ready for this, Cosmos? You ready for the 1950s talk? They were a yellowed-skinned race, and their hair was straight and black, their eyes long and narrow. 9 out of 10 Chinese people were farmers. There we are. That's our 1950s textbook. So obviously, that's not quite reality. Most of these farmers live near the Yellow River in the north of the Yangtze-Kiang River, in the center part of the land. You will find both these rivers on the map on page 14. Back to our good old map. Let's see. So there's the Yellow River. There's Cathay. Yangtze-Kiang is right here. Yes, it's a little south. And we're getting into like I'm not really good at geography in this part of the world, but I'm pretty sure it's like Vietnam and Thailand and stuff. Is like down near the bottom there. So there's the Yangtze-Kiang, near the red line, just under Cathay, and the Yellow River, which goes all the way down. Okay. Northern farmers grew wheat, which they made into noodles and ate mixed with milk or meat. Farmers near the Yangtze-Kiang River grew much rice, sugar, cotton, and ginger. They also raised silkworms. Oh, so that's the... So we go south, we get the silkworms of the Yangtze River. There we are. No, it's the fishing. There we are. They also raised silkworm. Although most water buffaloes were used to do the farm work, most farmers were too poor to own one. So that's good old water buffalo. So only the rich had the water buffaloes. Men, women, and children worked in the fields from dawn till dusk. Every few years, the Yellow River overflowed its banks, and the farmers near it lost all their crops and were left homeless. I think that also happens in Egypt sometimes. Little deluges and floods. Because of this, the Yellow River was and is still known as China's sorrow. Kublai Khan showed himself to be an understanding ruler. In times of plenty, he set up great storehouses of wheat to provide food for his people. And the floods destroyed when the floods destroyed the crops. A great canal, 700 miles in length, was built to join the Yellow River with the Yangtze Kiang. Oh wow! So they did like their own like, what's that called? Aquaponics? Aquaponics. No, I don't think that's right. Terraforming. Yeah, they did their own terraforming. This was known as the Grand Canal. It was, and still is, the longest waterway in the world built by man. I wonder how many people had to die to make that. Many Chinese people in the southern China spent most of their lives on the rivers and canals, living in boats known as junks? Junks? I know what junks. I like junks better. Is that the... Yeah, here we are. Here's the junks. Marco Polo wrote in his diary that in many ways, the Chinese were far ahead of the Europeans of his time. Very true, right? They developed all the gunpowder and printing press, all the machines. Way ahead. Coal was used by the Chinese over 700 years ago. This coal, he wrote, was dug from the mountains and used for fuel and was found to be more lasting than wood, for it kept the house warm all through the night and burnt till morning. He found that Chinese people were very clean. Every man of wealth in the city of Kansai in South China had a marble bath in his home. In that city alone, there were 3,000 baths. Wow, that's a lot of baths. That's more baths than in the city of Bath in Bath, England. The Chinese had learned how to use oil as fuel and lamps, and men came from distant parts of Cathay to the oil wells to procure the precious liquid. He wrote about asbestos. Uh-oh. Asbestos is no good. I hope Marco Polo didn't get too much asbestos. His lungs, his dear old lungs there. Can do a little drink. Keep my throat lubricated. He wrote about asbestos, a mineral which was obtained from rocks, woven into cloth. Ooh, not good. And used by the Chinese to make up its fireproof qualities. Because of its fireproof qualities. In China, the art of printing had been practiced for many years, and the Chinese printed their own books, while Europeans were still copying books by hand. Printed paper money was in use. It was found to be much lighter and easier to carry about than heavy gold and silver coins. Marco Polo spoke also of the making of silk and fine porcelain. Ooh. There's nothing like good old bone china porcelain. Good old bone china. That's the best stuff. If you have it says bone china on your pottery, take a little look. Look in your house. If you have any like very thin pottery that has like usually blue. It usually has like blue design. If you look on the bottom, it says bone china. That stuff's peak quality. You should keep that with you. And fine porcelain. Marco Polo spent much time with Kublai Khan in the royal palace and greatly admired the King of Kings. Ooh, like Charlemagne. He described him as a man of middle stature, that is, neither tall nor short. His complexion is fair, his eyes are black and handsome, his nose well-shaped and prominent, a powerful nose. We love good, powerful Roman noses here. Kublai Khan was a Tartar, one of those horseback warriors. His family had come from the region of the Gobi Desert. His grandfather, Genghis Khan, ooh, the great Khan. Genghis Khan had led his Tartar warriors to battle and had conquered many neighboring lands. By the time Kublai Khan became King of Kings, he was ruler over most of Asia, from the China Sea to the shores of the Mediterranean. For the map on page 14, we're always far back. Yeah, page 14. You will see how much of the earth he ruled. The Khan had hundreds of Tartar soldiers stationed throughout the vast empire to keep the peace and order. I don't really see how much where it shows all the Tartar warriors, but I'll believe you, Mr. 1950s book. We'll keep that in mind when we're looking at her. Oh, there's a new. That's not yet. Let's see how much he ruled. The Khan had hundreds of the Tartar. Peace and order. His place was built of marble and contained fine sculptures, tapestries, and paintings of dragons, animals, flowers. The roofs of many buildings. Oh no, we're missing stuff. Are we missing stuff? Chinese writing. Oh, let's look at the Chinese writing actually. Look at that. So you can see some of the progression from symbolism to the writings, like the child and ancient character for a child, and then the present form of the child. So like it kind of changes. We get chicken. I don't really see how chicken turns into that, but I guess so. Or the rain cloud. I don't really get. Maybe I'm just not cut out for Chinese. Maybe that's it. Okay, and then there's the transportation. Let's use these palanquins to transport. This palace was built of marble and contained fine sculptures, tapestries, and paintings of dragons, animals, and flowers. The roof of many buildings in the grounds were tiled in bright colors: green, red, blue, and violet. A high wall surrounded the buildings and gardens, and the distance around the royal gardens was so great that it took a horseman all day to make the journey. Wow, that's a lot of journeying. A strange sight to be seen daily was a large lion which moved about unchained to the palace guard. Oh, geez. So back in the day, there actually used to be lions in Europe and Asia, but I think they were all hunted to extinction because of the games, the Colosseums and games. When it was led into the presence of the Khan, it was trained to drop to its knees and bow, humbling itself before the mighty monarch. That's a bit crazy. Imagine like you need to feel good, make yourself feel good, so the lion like fucking bows to you. It's like, oh, I'm a king of the jungle. Look at me, I'm the big king, big boss man. The many feasts which the empire gave were famous for their magnificence and grandeur. At the dinners, the Khan sat on a throne which was higher than those of his officers and guests. Even his royal sons sat with their heads on the same level as his feet. Whoa, shit. This guy's a little full of himself. Dozens of servants waited on him, their faces covered with veils so that their breath might not harm the food. That's actually fair. I would do that. I would wear a veil. A page brought his wine cup to him, and as the cup was put to his lips, musicians played. On such occasions, guests from distant parts of the empire brought gifts of great value to the ruler. At one time, he received 5,000 camels, 5,000 elephants, and 100,000 horses. Ooh, that's a lot. And was continually receiving great quantities of spices from India, pearls from Persia, rubies from Ceylon, and jade from distant parts of China. But the greatest marvel of his kingdom was the capital city of Peking, which Kublai Khan had rebuilt in the form of a square. Here the King of Kings held his court, each year from December to February. The wall around the city was 24 miles long, and contained 12 fine gates, each of which was defended by 1,000 guards. The streets were broad and so straight that a guard above a gate on the northern wall could clearly see one standing on the gate of the southern wall 6 miles away. Each evening at sundown, a bell in the tall tower in the middle of the city rang 3 times to tell everyone that the city gates were closed until morning. It's quite impressive. So they had like these beautiful statues and such and things. And now we're on the return journey. We're on Marco Polo's going back now. In spite of all the grandeur, Polo was enjoyed as the years passed by. They longed to return once more to their native city, Venice. The Khan, however, was unwilling to allow them to leave. In the 17 years that they had spent in Cathay, the emperor had grown to depend on them, especially on Marco Polo. He charged them with being ungrateful and promised Marco Polo greater riches and more power if he would only undertake to stay. "Have I not done everything possible for you?" he asked. Their chance to return home came in a strange way. A beautiful Chinese princess, Kukachin, was to be married to the king of Persia. At first, Kublai Khan planned to send her to the Persian court by the overland route, but he had to abandon that idea. He feared that she would be wearied by the long journey over the Gobi Desert, or that she might be killed by fierce tribesmen in the dangerous mountains passes of Persia. Marco Polo, who had just returned from a trip to India by sea, suggested that she might travel by ship from Cathay to her new home. He promised that he himself should lead the expedition. With a heavy heart, the Khan gave his consent to the plan. 14 great ships, many manned by 250 men, were fitted out for the journey. Rich presents of jewels were given to the Polos as farewell gifts. They were again presented with golden passports, which requested that Marco Polo and his great fleet be made welcome at any of the places in the Khan's empire, which they called Marco Polo was to be provided with all the food, clothing, or supplies which he chose to order. After farewells were made, the fleet sailed through the China Sea and arrived at the island of Sumatra. That's where the gibbons are, the good old gibbons and orangutans. At Sumatra, the fleet had to remain for 5 long months, waiting for winds to blow from the southeast. Along Sumatra was under the rule of Kublai Khan. Marco Polo feared that the natives. He gave orders for a fort to be built close to the shore, with a high wall of stout tree trunks around it for the protection of his men. During this time, Marco Polo visited many parts of the warm tropical island. Elephants, rhinoceros, and monkeys were found in the forests. Crocodiles blinked lazily in the hot sun along the riverbanks. The people of Sumatra lived mostly on rice, fish, spices, and cocoa nuts, which were Marco Polo described as being as big as the man's head. Whoa! From Sumatra, they traveled across the Indian Ocean to Ceylon, an island on the southern coast of India. Marco Polo described it as the finest island in the world. After 18 months, the fleet reached the port of Ormuz on the Gulf of Persia. The trip had been so long and trying, 2 Persian ambassadors, 20 of the royal attendants, and 600 of the crew had died. Whoa, that's a lot of death. I hope the princess is still alive. On the way, but bad news awaited Princess Kukachin. The king of Persia, who she was to have married, had died many months before. Oh my god. So this is all for nothing. Later, however, she married a son of the king. Okay. Well, I guess it all worked out. The mission of the Polos was now over. From Persia, they journeyed overland. They gazed once more on the blue waters of the Mediterranean Sea. There they boarded the ship and reached Venice in 1295. After an absence of nearly 25 years, at first no one in Venice believed that these bearded foreign-looking men were the Polos. Even their relatives had thought them dead. The Polos planned a magnificent feast to which they invited all their relatives and former friends. They received their guests in rich robes of crimson satin. After the last course, the Polos left the banquet hall and re-entered carrying in their arms the tattered travel-stained clothes which they had worn when they arrived in Venice. With a sharp knife, Marco Polo slashed the clothes here and there, and from the seams there poured forth jewels of great value, rubies, sapphires, diamonds, and emeralds. The guests were filled with wonder at the great show of wealth. Marco Polo then told them of his journey to the court of Kublai Khan. Venetians nicknamed him Marco Millions. They never tired of hearing stories of his journeys and of his strange adventures. Even those who had first thought his stories were lies later said that Marco was indeed telling the truth. A few years after his return, war broke out between Venice and Genoa, another powerful city-state. Marco Polo was captured by the Genoese. I don't know what that is. I don't know how to pronounce that. And remained for 3 years in prison. While there, he told the stories of his travels to a fellow prisoner, who, greatly interested, persuaded Marco Polo to dictate to him the story of his journey through Asia and his life in Cathay. The book of his travels, which he called The Curious and Remarkable Voyages and Travels of Marco Polo, had a very great influence. Copies of it found their way into almost every country of Europe. Many people who read it believed that if there was so much wealth in the East, it would be a very good place to trade, and that new routes to it should be found. Others, delighted by Marco's descriptions of the strange lands he had visited, and the peoples he had seen there, were seized by a spirit of adventure and a desire to find out more about the world. The end. That's Marco Polo. Thank you everybody for joining me, and hope you had a good time. So yeah, I'll end it here. If anybody wants to, yeah, I'm probably gonna do more of these late at night, because I feel like they're fun little stories. So yeah, I will see everybody later. Goodbye.